Hi, Mickey. And Happy New Year to you, Mickey.
Happy New Year. That was, I'm wearing a hat that makes me look almost as stupid as Dana Milbank in his hunting outfit. But not quite, I don't think.
I think I missed that one, maybe.
Anyway, Happy New Year.
You know, I'm festively dressed myself. I have a tie on.
Really?
But yeah.
Jesus.
Because for one thing, I figured if we, did a complete costume change, no one would realize that we're actually taping this on December 22nd, right after the, the Christmas one.
I think we have them all fooled.
I know.
I changed shirts, and I changed into a Writers Guild strike shirt. To show my traditional solidarity with the labor movement.
Yeah. You and Rob Long.
It's a little weird. Why do I sympathize with the writers where I sympathize with no other union? Could it be because I'm biased toward white...
Toward people of your socioeconomic class?
Yes.
Could be.
It could be, but I have to come up with another reason.
Yeah. Good luck.
Okay.
So, we're yeah, exactly. Keep those coming, okay?
I will.
Because I want to give, Dick Clark a little competition. Is he still alive? I'm sorry. I know he had a stroke.
I think he's still alive. It's Merv Griffin who died.
Well, anyway, I'm thinking that we are heirs apparent, possibly. Do you think?
It could be. We could drop Bloggen or something at the end of the year or something.
The traditional dropping of the Bloggen Noggin on Times Square.
There you go.
Or we could drink eggnoggin.
We could, although drinking on camera I think is a bad thing.
It's been done on Blogging Heads. Such is its edgy sensibility.
There you go.
So, we were going to do this New Year's show, and as you can see, we actually are. But, and so I was thinking, traditional year in review, predictions, but no, you had a better idea. You came up with these, odd little categories that you wanted us to comment on, to submit. Here, your first one is things you...
everybody does, most important development, biggest winner, biggest loser, so what?
But we're Blogging Heads, we're different.
We're doing, a quirky thing.
Right.
There you go.
We're zany. That's why they love us. Exactly. That's a perfect example. Totally unpredictable that on a New Year's show you would have, a noisemaker or something.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. So, one of the things you submitted, we're supposed to each name the thing you most regret doing during the past year or so, is that right?
Correct.
First of all, what are the chances that the thing you really most regret doing is something you'd be willing to talk about in public, right? Because the things you really regret doing, they keep you up at night and stuff, and that's always stuff you would not just broadcast.
I'm about to discuss one, Bob.
Should I get mine out of the way?
Yeah.
I most regret drinking too much coffee before too many dialogues and, becoming too vehement and saying cruel things to the people I love the most, Mickey.
That must be me.
Actually, no, you're not the one I had in mind. But anyway, what's the thing you most regret?
Who did you have in mind, Bob? Now we're getting to the nub.
No, actually, no. I guess it's unfair to my wife and daughters, because then after I make a fool of myself on a dialogue, I'm in kind of a bad mood afterwards, and so I don't say cruel things to them, but I harm the ones I love the most after saying mean things to the one that I kind of like.
Man, they could make a movie of your domestic life. It'd be sort of like...
it's wild.
It'd be sort of like Control, the life living with Ian Curtis.
See, another cultural allusion that escapes me, Mickey. But you're in Hollywood and I'm not.
Ian Curtis was the singer of Joy Division who didn't know how to deal with his domestic life and hung himself.
Oh, that sounds exactly like me. The parallels are eerie.
He was difficult to live with.
Hey.
Perhaps in a Bob Wright-like way.
I've been there.
I regret... this is an old regret, but it's come to haunt me.
Mm-hmm.
On Election Day in 2004, Michael Newman of the New York Times asked me to write something on what I thought the biggest turning point of the campaign was.
And who now runs the Washington Post online opinion.
Correct. A great guy. And
great guy.
But the article came out on Election Day. It didn't come out the day after Election Day. And I wrote that the turning point was something that happened in the debate where that Bush got the advantage. And, of course, it was a close election, and did me saying that in one paragraph on the New York Times op-ed page cost John Kerry 80,000 votes in Ohio in the election? Probably not.
I'm guessing that the rain in Ohio, which suppressed turnout, which is an effect that's traditionally advantageous to Republicans, may have had more to do with it, but go ahead.
It's possible, but as you say, we were responsible for that little bit which we accomplish or don't accomplish.
We should use our influence conscientiously, however meager it be.
And I shouldn't have agreed to do that on Election Day. Because
so we're not confining our regrets to the year 2007,
well, I regretted it in 2007. I just didn't do it in 2007.
Wow, you talk about your haunting regrets. I mean, that's several years later.
Well, there you go.
You're really a tormented person, aren't you?
That's right, Bob. I'm glad you're finally realizing that.
I'm just finally sharing it with the viewing public. But would you like to talk about that a little more?
There's a smile on my face, but it's just there to fool the public.
The tears of a clown? Oh, no, wait, it's the other way.
Yeah.
Anyway. No, yeah, it's only there trying to... Were you quoting from that song?
I think I was.
They're trying to fool the public, but when it comes down to fooling you, now, honey, that's just a different subject?
Yep.
Is that right? That's the lyric,
That's pretty
right?
good, Bob.
Thank you. There was a time when I was in touch with culture.
You don't know Joy Division, but you know Smokey Robinson. So.
I know the smokester.
Says it all. But yeah, no, I seem sunny and superficial, but in fact, there are deep currents of angst and whatever. But anyway, I shouldn't have done that. So that was stupid.
I don't think stupid quite covers it, really. I mean, to be honest, Mickey, if we could just dwell on this for a second, I think you should feel a little bit worse than you feel.
Because it reflects my tendency to promote myself as opposed to the good of the group.
You're getting there, yeah.
But it worked out okay because Kerry would have screwed up Iraq, and Bush didn't screw up Iraq, and so it all worked out fine.
Yeah, you're right. Because the surge, never mind.
Because the surge and its attendant phenomenon worked. Yes.
But I digress.
Well, okay. Well, that's the thing we most regret.
Okay.
What's the next topic?
The next topic is things you are most proud of. These are your topics, okay? We're supposed to say things we are most proud of. I guess having, that happened in the last year.
Mine's pretty obvious. I'm most proud of...
Actually, I'm having trouble coming up with something you'd be proud of, but maybe it's obvious to you. Go ahead.
Working to defeat comprehensive immigration reform, which various people thought was on a slippery slope to enactment, and many people objected to, surprisingly, and it didn't get passed.
You know, that's actually a case where, for all you know, you were the snowflake that started the avalanche.
I could have been the butterfly flapping its wings.
Or that.
I have a feeling Laura Ingraham may have been more important, but...
No, but I'm telling you, man, you put all your weight behind, reactionary nativism, and way to go.
Bob, that's a hyperbolic
I know, it's
caricature.
a joke. It's a joke. It's New Year. We're supposed to act like we've been drinking and we're saying crazy things, Mickey.
Okay.
It's a joke.
It's a joke I've never heard before.
That's just because it's a vulnerability to caricature that you've never...
What are you proud of aside from the Blogging Heads redesign?
I'm proud of the whole Blogging Heads enterprise. I'm proud of Blogging Heads' hardworking staff of highly trained professionals.
There's so many of them.
There are. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they exude commitment.
I think Blogging Heads is sort of too big to fail right now.
Yeah.
I mean...
Reminds me of the Titanic in a way. But bigger.
IBM, I think.
Yeah. And I'm proud of the community of commenters, the diverse yet usually civil and always astute commenters. I'm proud of that. I am proud of Blogging Heads, damn it, and don't try to talk me out of that.
Was that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
So predictable.
I mean, it's been virtually my whole year.
I guess true. You put your...
Also, I like my family, too.
Well, isn't the thing you most regret putting your book aside to spend your time on Blogging Heads?
You know, here is where we get to the difficulties posed by taping a show on December 22nd that's going to air on December 31st.
Why?
Because the plan is that it will have been sent in to my publisher by December 31st.
Really?
It's a good sign that as late as December 22nd, that's still the plan, regardless of whether it happens, right?
Congratulations.
Hey, right on.
Congratulations. That's amazing if you could do that.
Not really. I started the book in 1963. You do a little each year, and you finally get there. So,
I guess God hasn't changed a lot.
Perennial. He's a hardy perennial.
Okay.
Long shelf life, that guy. Okay.
Next one.
By the way, speaking of the diverse commenters, on an earlier show I listed all the conservative ones, and I was stealing from Liberaki's listing of them in the comments section, and then he complained that I hadn't, thanked him. So thank you, man. So the next one is, you came up with these. Okay, you want us to name the unimportant person who most pisses you off.
It could be, yeah. I was thinking that everybody's annoyed at sort of Don Rumsfeld, okay? So you can't say he's the person who most pisses me off. But I was thinking of somebody who's not an obvious person, and indeed somebody who could be it's obscure and it's incredibly petty and unflattering to you that you're pissed off at him. But still, this person gets your goat, and you just want to lash out. But it's sort of, you don't want to give him the dignity of lashing out.
Okay, the stage has been set.
Well, mine doesn't quite fit, but mine would be Jeffrey Goldberg, who...
It's funny, I've always liked him.
Who is the eminent, widely acclaimed writer who got away with the most murder in terms of setting the stage for the war with Iraq by playing on the Holocaust card and Jewish sentiments and using
that was the least of his
resonant
sins.
Phrases like "never again" and saying that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And then he didn't have weapons of mass destruction, and everybody who said it got grief except for Jeffrey Goldberg because he's such a great guy and everybody loves it.
Everybody?
He's pretty much universally popular, and I met him, and he is a great guy. But it annoys me that he hasn't paid the price.
Well, actually, you didn't mention his most egregious crime. Not that I'm the type of person to level accusation.
Accusing you of being a Holocaust
denier. No. We can link to that little Slate discussion. That was egregious, and you commendably took my side. I mean, that was totally and utterly egregious. And I encourage people actually to look at that exchange between me and Jeffrey Goldberg, because I contend that in light of how things went in Iraq, my side of that argument looks okay. But no, the thing, no, he wrote the New Yorker piece asserting evidence of a tie between the Iraqi regime and Al Qaeda.
Well,
piece,
that piece probably stands up to the test of time. I mean, he went to the north of Iraq, where there was this little outpost of Al Qaeda people, and they did exist. I mean, and the argument of the left is that we could have just...
No, it's not clear they existed at all. What he did was, the Kurds, as I recall, I think the Kurds, took him to some prison and said, look at these two guys, or whatever, they're bad guys, and we caught them, and they were in Iraq or something, and, obviously, the Kurds would have an interest at that point in getting America pretty riled up about Iraq, so...
I thought the argument was that Ansar al-Iraq was there in the north of Iraq, but we could have taken them out without starting a war with the whole country.
No, that's different. Nobody denied that they were there, but that...
Well, that was the story, wasn't it?
No. It was I think it was an Al Qaeda assertion. Ansar al-Islam, I think everybody knew about, but they were in a part of Iraq not controlled by Saddam Hussein. They were in Kurdistan, and I could have the story. He did do a little wrong because these guys, I think, were in Kurdistan. But no, it was not just Ansar al-Islam. No. It was Al Qaeda, Saddam Hussein connection.
Oh, okay. I missed that article then, but it seemed to me the worst thing he wrote was the aflatoxin piece in Slate, where he basically said Saddam has all these biological weapons that would only exist so he could commit mass murder, and that piece does not stand the test of time.
So but you've brought him up before. Why do you keep just do this so that you hope I'll fly into a rage or something?
No, because all my friends love the guy.
Yeah, but why should that bother you? It should bother me.
I'm resentful and envious and jealous, and I wish I could get away with murder like that the way he does. And,
okay.
And I also don't like the way he plays on the Jewish card, frankly. So that annoys me.
Okay.
And, you want to bust him for it, that's all.
Okay. Consider him busted, man. I would think this is probably the end of his career. Once you've come out against him.
It's all over.
And then I throw my weight onto it. Oh, good luck getting a job in this business, buddy.
He's also founding the Jewish Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Is he?
Yeah, which seems...
now, who does that include?
Who does that include? More people than you think. But, it just seems to me the whole point of rock and roll is that it's not ethnically balkanized, and you don't want to start ethnically balkanizing it.
Wow, you can do a whole piece about this guy.
I think I won't.
You got a lot of gripes. That's good.
I think I won't. But go ahead. Who's your guy?
Okay. The unimportant person who most pisses me off?
Yeah?
I'm afraid that would have to be you, Mickey. I'm sorry, man.
What can I say?
Can I name an important person?
I don't know why I piss you off.
What?
I don't know why I would piss you off.
You so systematically try to antagonize me, and then people, I know they're thinking the wrong thing. They're thinking that I'm just like this, that I'm volatile. But it just takes surgical strikes to really get me to make a fool of myself on a regular basis. But you're the guy for that job, and you're damn good at it, and that's why you piss me off.
They think you're volatile or vulnerable?
Well, I am... Well, they think I'm volatile, because I start screaming all the time. But I'm not going to this time.
Well, okay. Well, I see you've turned it into a compliment, so I'll accept the compliment.
Yeah.
Is that all?
And then the person you are most...
You're about to name the important person who pisses you off.
I mean, just the obvious. I don't know. Nobody... I don't have time for... I'm not one of the haters, Mickey.
Okay.
So nobody comes to mind. I don't know.
Well, you obviously had somebody in mind when you said that, Bob.
No, I didn't. It was a joke. It was a way of reinforcing the fact that I had put you in the unimportant category.
I think you had somebody in mind, but anyway.
No, I really didn't. But I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of Bush. You could name him, I guess.
Okay. What's the next category?
Person you are most envious of.
Yeah, it's tough.
Jeffrey Goldberg?
No. Well, yeah, that too. I could say Andrew Sullivan just because I go around to people and say, I hear Andrew Sullivan gets $300,000 a year. Isn't that absurd? And they all go, no, that seems about right. So apparently he's being paid a fantastic sum of money by David Bradley, who really seems to be like the gravy train of all gravy trains.
I don't know. No dollars have come my way from there.
Not me either. And he has a stable of great bloggers.
Yeah. Several of whom are Blogging Heads regulars, not coincidentally.
Well, Iglesias is good, and Mark Ambinder is very good.
But, well, Ross Douthat is good,
I don't know how you pronounce it.
And so is Megan McArdle. And
right, them too.
Yeah.
Who are we leaving out there? Gee, God.
That's about it there. Jim Fallows blogs for him, but his upload speeds are too low in China to permit easy file upload, so it may be a while before we see him.
It could be Andrew. It could be Sam Zell, who with very little expenditure of his own just took control of the LA Times. But it's not clear you should be envious of anybody who's saddled with the LA Times. Mainly people in... it could be Ariana Huffington, who has a great life and has figured out how to make money on the web by getting people to write for her for free.
Free content. What a great idea.
And other people have emulated it, but...
we should take that to video.
Without similar results. Or it could be people who live in small towns and can raise their kids without the rat race of living in Los Angeles.
It's a great life.
Anyway, who's yours?
The person I'm most envious of. I'm always envious of people who get credit for ideas that are mine.
And you never bring it up.
And I never bring it up. But this time I'm going to. And once again, the winner is you, Mickey.
Jesus, Bob. I thought we were going to be petty and immature, but I didn't realize...
Let's see how petty this is. Just give me a second here, okay?
I didn't realize we were going to be fratricidal. Okay.
Now, on what will now be 2 dialogues ago when this airs, I was talking about the redesign, and you pretended to be sleeping because you found it so boring.
Yeah.
And you were widely hailed as a creative genius. First of all, in our comments section, the prop, THPROP, ding-a-linked to it. with a question, is Bob really that boring? Mickey seems to think so. And then later in the comments section, Threep, T-H-R-E-E-P. So just to clarify, Throp and Threep are different people, apparently. Threep comments, good job, Mickey. He turned Bob's long spiel into comedy gold. It's the subtle touches. Now, Mickey, tell me something. Did you feel when you did that little shtick that you were being at all derivative?
I figured that somebody has done that before, yes. I know.
Does anybody spring to mind?
Or you roll your eyes and pretend to nod off.
In fact, you remember that New York Times story that was written about us in the golden months of when Blogging Heads was brand new?
That was the peak, I believe.
Yeah, I would just like to quote from that. I would just like to quote from that. They were talking about two people they call Mr. Kaus and Mr. Wright. Quote, they get on each other's nerves, and when they do, Mr. Wright can be seen pretending to fall asleep or moving his head in a way that suggests a chiropractic exercise. Okay?
Really? That's good writing.
So, I most envy you for getting the credit that I was due.
Well, great. I'll take
but
that
at the same time, I'm happy for you because I love you, man.
I'll take that credit.
Way to go.
And I bet you're not the first person to ever pretend to fall asleep on camera either.
Actually, pretending to fall asleep while the person that you're trying to humiliate is jabbering away on the same screen? I don't know. I'd like to see a precedent for that. I'm not saying I'm definitely the first.
Wouldn't want to go out on a limb.
Wouldn't want to go out on a limb, but I would like to see an earlier precedent.
I think it's like the Steinberg cartoon, where Steinberg sued people for like that skewed perspective of New York cartoon, the famous one, and then
But those all did come afterwards, right? Yeah.
No,
so I'm like doing that. Yes, I am doing that.
Then somebody went back and discovered something from like the 1800s that was exactly the same.
I'm confident no one had done this on video in the 1800s.
Yeah, don't be so sure. The daguerreotype, probably.
The daguerreotype.
Okay. That is pathetic, Bob. You're not stepping up to the plate at all. You're just naming me.
I think that's the last time I'll name you, because the next one is Unsung Hero of the Year, and that's not you, Mickey.
Okay, who is yours, Bob?
It's Blogging Heads TV's hardworking staff of highly trained professionals.
Bob, this is turning into like a corporate propaganda exercise.
Did I mention them before?
Well, it's just, you're supposed to make a fool of yourself, not be the benign paterfamilias of the Blogging Heads family.
How about our comments section of ideologically diverse yet usually civil commenters?
That sounds like it was written in advance for you by a PR man.
Okay, how about... Well, why don't you go? Who's your unsung hero of the year?
One of my mentors, a beloved law clerk in the California Supreme Court named Peter Belton, died. He was one of the last people to get polio. He could actually trace when he got the polio to a salad he had in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, he claims. And he was crippled for life and eventually died of complications, but in the meantime had a wonderful career basically writing a lot of the law of the state of California and being an inspiration to everybody. So there's him.
Well, that does make my nominee look a little petty, I gotta say.
And I could do the unsung heroes of immigration opposing comprehensive what did you call it? Nativist restrictionism?
Reactionary nativism.
Reactionary nativism. Senator Sessions was especially effective. Mark Krikorian was very effective, and Rahm Emanuel is not an unsung hero, but he's been an unsung hero in terms of stopping the Democrats from going willy-nilly on the comprehensive reform bandwagon.
So he was anti-immigration reform?
No, but since then he's gotten all his congressional candidates to distance themselves from amnesty, as a result, making it much less likely that even if the Democrats regain the presidency, that they will immediately pass comprehensive reform.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's got a lot of grief from it from the left. So,
yeah.
Even though he's maybe not the most lovable guy.
Okay. So my answers often pertain to blogging heads, and your answers often pertain to immigration reform. And you're right, that's better.
But so that's your unsung hero?
Blogging Heads TV's hardworking staff of highly trained professionals.
Jeez. That's pathetic.
Well, Mickey, you sent these questions. I don't know. You know, I really had trouble coming up with responses. Yeah. I have not paid attention to anything this year.
We'll get to yours. We had one that was the biggest moose of the year.
The biggest moose. Now, do you want to get your moose out?
My moose is out, Bob.
Okay. Now, I don't know how exactly to say this. You know, my moose is out, first of all. My moose is out. He's a cute feller. And, anyway, you know, I was a little surprised. Last time, remember when we did the dueling moose thing that inspired comparisons to Romper Room in the comment section?
Yeah.
I was a little surprised by what I saw on your end. Because, you know, I was a little afraid to kind of go head-to-head, because I had heard, you know, I mean, anybody who's spent any time in journalism gossip circles has heard about what a big moose Mickey Kaus has, you know?
Yeah. You're getting to your point, as opposed to the subtle innuendo. Aren't you worried that this is so immature that it's going to like completely destroy our reputation?
Yes. I'm reconsidering the whole thing.
Well, I have some actual moose issues, but you wouldn't want me to actually talk about something serious.
Oh, I see. You meant actual moose issues?
Yes. Jesus, you thought I meant actually who has the biggest moose?
That's what I thought you meant.
Oh, Jesus. No, I meant
sorry, man.
What's the biggest
I'm sorry.
issue that...
Because I was on the verge of saying something untoward about your moose. It's a good thing you intervened.
Thank you.
I'll save that for a later episode.
Well,
I took you too literally. I'm sorry.
Everybody thinks the biggest moose is race and IQ, because Will Selaton blogged about it and got into trouble and then expressed his regrets. But it seems to me that that's no longer a moose. That's basically being talked about. And we have debates between Flynn and Charles Murray, and so that's no longer a moose. People are talking about that, which is probably a good thing that they're talking about it. I've never been convinced that Charles Murray's of the world were right, and in fact, his book convinced me that he couldn't make the case. But
I would go further, but anyway.
But anyway, so I don't think that's the moose. I think, you know, Bob. Oddly enough, I think the moose that I would point to has to do with immigration, which is nobody quite wants to recognize that immigration from Mexico is different from immigration from other countries, and that regardless of its economic effect, there's a problem with having a lot of immigrants from a neighboring country that have a legitimate claim on large parts of your territory and that may think that they're taking it back after it was stolen in the 1800s. And nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants. But
you've said this like 50 times on Blogging Heads. How could that be a moose?
Well, because it hasn't, like the Edwards sex scandal, it has gotten zero traction in the rest of the media.
But you said it in Slate too, right?
I may have mentioned it in Slate.
Yeah, and it didn't stir up any big controversy, right? Whereas we all know what happened with Will Salatan's piece. That stirred up a controversy. Right. So this is like a totally phony moose,
No,
Mickey.
Once it stirs up a controversy, then it's no longer a moose. When nobody wants to comment on it, like, for example, the Edwards sex scandal, or this, then it's a moose, because it's something that nobody wants to talk about. Yet it's still there.
I mean, you're the only one who thinks it's an issue. It's not one of these things that everybody's like waking up thinking, gosh, I'd really like to talk about this ugly truth. It's everyone's waking up thinking Mickey Kaus is nuts.
I'm certainly not the only one who thinks it's an issue. There's a whole bunch of right-wingers who talk about
I am with. Yeah, I know.
The Reconquista, who talk about the Reconquista. And,
yeah, I'm worried.
There are people.
See, that's what worries me about the Iraq War is we don't have enough troops to mass on the southern border to keep, because of the coming Reconquista. Sorry, I didn't mean to make light of this, but I just think you're nuts.
Well, first, there's an argument that we did steal the land from them. Second, apparently, if you look at their textbooks, they tell maybe the story of the Alamo a little differently, Bob, than the way you learned it in Texas.
Well, who knows which way is wrong, but that's standard procedure.
That's the point. The point is they're still being taught that that we took these large chunks of territory that were rightly theirs. So,
but we would never do that.
That cathects immigration from Mexico in a way that immigration from, say, China, Japan, Bangladesh, Italy is not cathected.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. There are other people who worry about it, other serious people. I think Fred Siegel worries about it a bit. But
well, now we've got it out on the table. So let the chips fall where they may.
Okay, so what's so you completely misinterpreted that question.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had my moose out.
Highly convenient. I had my moose out, but
I was ready to go mano a mano here, even though mine is clearly not as big, but in some other respects superior, I would argue. But again, let's don't get too juvenile about this.
Are we through with my topics, or do we have yours?
There's more of your topics.
Okay.
The most underreported story, we agreed it was okay if we just couldn't come up with an answer for some category. And I don't think, I have one for most overhyped story, but not for most underreported story.
And then you had like some big idea you wanted to talk about.
That too.
Okay. Well, I had trouble with underreported story. My standard underreported story is the migration of blacks from the inner city and central cities to the Inland Empire in California.
To the what? The Inland?
The Inland Empire.
That is underreported. Haven't heard of it.
But I mean, basically, if you go to Watts, the heart of South Central Los Angeles, it's mainly Hispanic now. And
well, that's actually true of neighborhoods here now that were black 20 years ago and are Hispanic now. I don't know where they went in this case, but where are they going in California?
In California, they're going to like Banning and all sorts of places inland in the desert, where housing is cheaper.
They're newly built suburbs, or what?
No, I don't think so. I think they're older suburbs, but it's been going on for years. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I once got lost in Banning, and all of a sudden I was in this black community that looked like the ghetto in South Central. And I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they do for a living. I don't know if they commute. I don't know what's going on. So I would want some reporter to report that.
That is underreported.
The larger trend, is the eclipse of the black community by all the attention being paid to Latinos and the end of the sort of binary black-white politics, and it's become sort of tripartite, and it seems to me that has a huge effect on our politics, probably salutary.
In what way?
The race issue is because it means that the old trick where you Mau the flag catchers, where a lot of black activists get ahead by making the rest of society feel guilty about the oppression of the blacks. That sort of doesn't work that way anymore, and so it requires that community just to pursue more normal channels of advancement.
Okay.
You're not going to get ahead by guilt-tripping society anymore. Especially you don't get ahead by guilt-tripping Latinos, because they're not in the mood to be guilt-tripped.
No.
Anyway, but probably the most underreported story is vast medical advances in curing a whole bunch of diseases where we're going to wake up 10 years from now and the world's going to have changed.
How could that be underreported? I mean, those stories get hyped routinely, right? Every potential cancer breakthrough.
Well, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Alzheimer's? If they cured Alzheimer's, that would be a big deal.
I think cancer would be bigger. Well, well, they're related, because if they can get rid of all the cancers and heart diseases of the world, then the problem will be, I mean, I kind of have a theory that if you live long enough, anybody will get Alzheimer's. I mean, they used to just call it dementia, right?
I thought that wasn't true.
Oh, okay. I take it back.
No, I don't know. You tell me. I'm not a doctor.
I take it back. Maybe it's not true.
I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV.
Okay, neither do I. I take it all back. But
okay, you may be
But
right.
I do wonder, are we? Which side of kind of the cusp are we on? Is it too late for us to have eternal life, Mickey?
I think we just missed it.
I think we just missed it. Have you tried human growth hormone? You never know.
No, have you?
No.
Okay. What's your underreported story? You don't have one.
No. Sorry.
What's your overhyped story?
My overhyped, if we don't count group selection, I'm going to go with the iPhone. Because it was hailed as, you know, the next step in a brilliantly mapped out strategy to conquer the world by Steve Jobs. I maintain it was basically a Hail Mary pass, and it's not going to really work.
Huh.
And here's what I mean. I think Jobs, I mean, he's great, he's smart. I think he understood something that a lot of people don't, which is that the iPod, per se, is doomed, okay?
Why is it doomed?
It's doomed because this is something that occurred to me using my humble Trio 650 a year or two ago, because I use this for everything. I listen to MP3s on it, although, admittedly, not music, just kind of dialogues mainly, but... And it became clear to me that the iPod and the cell phone are going to merge, because when you're walking along listening to an MP3 and you get a cell phone call, you're really happy that you don't have to change devices, okay? The fact that you can just press a button, and if you've got your earbuds on that have a microphone, you just start talking, is a huge convenience. So it seems to me inevitable that the iPod as an isolated device for playing audio is going to die.
Right.
And once you acknowledge that, then Apple has a pretty big challenge if it's going to retain, you know, a market as big as the iPod was. It's going to have to join, you know, and it's going to have to play that game, come up with a device that is an email device, a phone, and an iPod. And the problem it faces is that lots of them already exist, including the aforementioned, you know, 650, which is now, you know, obsolescing, but BlackBerry Curve. I mean, there's tons of these things that basically do this.
Here's the argument against that, which is that it's also going to. It's not just the phone and the iPod that are going to merge, but the PC is going to merge into the same device.
Right.
And the iPhone was a step toward that device because it gets Wi-Fi, so it surfs the web much more effectively.
It gets Wi-Fi, but everybody's going to have that soon. I mean, now the one thing it has that, if it's patented, could give it a long-term edge is the two-finger touch screen.
Yeah.
Have you fooled around with an iPhone with a web browser?
No. Does it work?
Well, that's great. It's great. It's the best thing about the thing.
Well, there you go.
Well, right, but there are all these compromises about the iPhone. It's a bad email device because it doesn't have a keyboard with tactile feedback. But the browser is great because the screen can sense touches in 2 points, so you can just expand a part of a web page or contract it. It makes it massively easier to use. So if Apple has some kind of truly effective patent on that, that gives it a big edge. Well, but I still would say it's not a very good email device. I've heard mixed reports on how good a phone it is, and there's going to be a huge amount of competition, much more than Apple faced, or more formidable than Apple faced in the iPod market. And again, the iPod market is dying. I submit.
In the meantime, Apple has won the operating system fight. The Leopard is considered much more successful than Vista. Yeah. And they're stealing huge amounts of market share in the basic PC market. Yeah. Which seems almost as important as...
Yeah, I'm not saying Apple's doomed. I'm just saying the significance of the iPhone was misunderstood, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
iPod's dead.
My overhyped thing is, first, anything involving Latinos, which the media always wants to hype, including the sleeping giant of the awakening Latino electorate, which is a little smaller and much more diverse than the media tends to make it.
So wait, they are formidable enough to take over Southern California by force, but you don't think they will have much impact at the polls?
I don't think there's. Look, we have a Latino mayor. We have a lot of. There's a huge Latino electorate. The question is, are they important enough in the presidential race so that not supporting comprehensive immigration reform will kill the Republicans in crucial states like New Mexico and Denver. New Mexico and Colorado, and the best analysis I've seen is by Steve Saylor, who's sort of an expert on these subjects, and says, yeah, it's going to cost Republicans 2 or 3 percentage points, but they stand to gain so much more with the majority non-Hispanic population that it might not redound to their it might redound to their benefit ultimately. But the press, and many serious analysts say that no, it's the Latino vote is all important, and I that's I think hyped. My other nominee is Facebook. Wildly overhyped. Everybody's joining up. I don't understand it.
I don't understand it, but I think that reflects on my advanced age. I mean, I do kind of understand it. It doesn't appeal to me because of my advanced age, but clearly, I mean, you can't argue with the growth rate. And you can argue about which one of these is going to be the king of the hill, Facebook, MySpace, whatever, but something seems to be happening here.
I'm talking about specifically Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'm on it. It doesn't do anything for me. They don't quite seem to know how to monetize it.
Nobody has friended you?
I have a few friends, not many.
Mm-hmm. If I were on it, I would friend you, Mickey.
Thanks, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would friend you, but not let you see my personal details.
I don't think I want to see your personal details, but thanks for asking.
That's the end of my topics, I think.
Okay, well, what about key new idea? I don't have one. You wrote that in. Do you have a key new idea?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Do you have a prediction?
I have a prediction.
What is it?
That wages at the bottom will rise as the immigration crackdown continues. So that we'll start to see good effects from even Bush's sort of half-hearted let's get tough at the borders policy.
Okay. That's a prediction.
Yeah.
Might be hard to link the two causally, but it's a prediction.
Well, but
I predict that Blogging Heads TV will still be alive next year.
At this time?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you sound surprised.
Well, it seems to me next year either it becomes big and permanent or it dies.
Those are two scenarios.
So I would say that it's highly likely it'll be alive, but it's highly unlikely that it'll still be alive and sort of clinging to life support. Because
No, that's a scenario.
You will have pulled the plug by then.
Possibly. But I predict life.
I think you got a lot going for you.
Me too.
I think if you could just get the embedding working, Bob.
It's working.
The embedding is working?
For everybody but your friends, man.
So anybody have you made this clear to everybody? Anybody who wants to embed a...
We're on the case. We're on the case.
Okay.
Anyway.
Can I say,
yes.
Why can't we use this opportunity to publicize it?
Because I don't know what the exact status of the interface will be when this airs. But anyway, the tsunami of embeds is coming.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, the other...
We were going to mention the biggest coming trend or unfolding development.
Yes.
You want me to go first? Or
you go first.
Okay. I think that 2008 is going to be the year when it becomes clear that there's a significant party realignment in the works. In
what sense?
Well, I just think, there's been a lot of talk about what a weird array of Republican candidates there are. None of them seem to truly fit the natural ideology of the Republican Party. I think one thing that's going on is that because of some recent, the emergence of some big issues, it's no longer clear what the natural ideology of the traditional Republican coalition is. It's not clear to me that it coheres anymore.
Immigration wouldn't be one of those issues, Bob, would it?
Yes, it would. I mean, there you go. Obviously, the corporate part of the Republican coalition is not on the same page as what seems to be the dominant part. I mean, given the fact that every candidate pretty much feels compelled to be very skeptical of immigration, I would say it's kind of clear, where the bulk of the party stands on that. So, yeah, that's one cleavage in the party, and seems to be deeper than the one in the Democratic Party, although I think, the realignment can work both ways on this, and I think there are other issues that are having the same effect.
But why can't we go back to, there may be that there are 3 or 4 issues and they all slice and dice in different ways and there's no way to come up with just 2 conglomerations
I think
sort of coherently capture one side of all of them.
I think that's possible too, and it could be that it's the end of parties eventually, because as you've said yourself, the technology in theory permits the emergence of fairly spontaneous groups supporting a candidate.
Right, so like John McCain could start, if he was younger, could start a party on a laptop where he just runs on the McCainiac ticket.
Right.
With his conjury of issues. But why can't we just go back to the situation it was before?
What do you mean, the situation before?
In other words, before we had Democrats and Republicans, but there were lots of moderate Republicans, lots of conservative Democrats. The parties weren't as clear-cut. You had Jacob Javits, who was practically a liberal, but was a Republican. You had all the Southern Democrats who were conservatives, and now the parties have sort of realigned so that they're much more coherent and partisan, and everybody laments that. Oh, why can't we go back to the days when there were moderate Republicans? And well, now we're going back to the days. We're going back to the days when there's Republicans who are moderate on immigration and Republicans who are tough on immigration, and they have to learn how to coexist in the same party.
Yeah, but the question is, are there other issues that will tend to cut along the same line? And one of them that I think could is foreign policy. This is not getting a real test because the only non-hawk in the race is Ron Paul, and he's not a good test because he's so flaky in so many other ways. But I think, again, much the same part of the coalition, the Republican coalition, that is more or less pro-immigration, favors a little more reserve in the way of military intervention than the Republican base seems to. And again, that's the kind of the business community. And also, there's another cleavage that, I think you're seeing more in the way of economic populism on the Republican side, right? More in the way of economic nationalism and kind of protectionist sentiment. Would you agree with that?
Right, except, the problem with your theory is that the two main pro sort of, not pro-immigrant, but pro, how to say it, the more business-oriented, more pro-legalization candidates, namely McCain and Lindsey Graham, happen to be very hawkish on foreign policy. So that's actually a good point. You're right. I still think in terms of the coalition, in terms of the constituency, it tends to work the other way. The more moderate in terms of defense or foreign policy tend to be the corporate types who are kind of pro-immigration. And also on this economic nationalism issue, they are removed from the base on that too. So protectionist. So I think there's several issues that could move business types and professional types from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party could become more firmly kind of nativist and nationalist. Well, so you're just saying that the Democrats are on the winning side of a bunch of issues.
Well, no, because you can imagine moving. I mean, as the Republican Party becomes more economically nationalist, and if Huckabee is any indicator, becomes more like Democrats in terms of domestic policy in other ways, you can imagine. There are Democrats who aren't wild about immigration, and you can imagine them, on balance, deciding that the Republican Party makes sense. But I think the 2008 election may see a lot of crossover voting. It depends on the candidates. But I just think the system just no longer seems coherent to me.
It doesn't quite fit with the Republicans becoming more democratic because protectionism is a democratic issue, and so if you're a business interest, free trader, free immigration person, you don't really become a Democrat. You're basically saying...
no, but the New Democrats have done pretty well within the Democratic Party, and that could be another case.
Not on trade, Bob. They've lost on trade.
Well, they carried the day during the 90s.
Well, right, but the whole trend recently has been that it's been very tough for them.
Well, you may be right in that it can't be sorted out by two parties, and something weirder will happen. But...
intellectually, there's a future for Clintonism. It also happens to be where I am, but... it's hard to see right now where the actual constituency for it is.
But it's not really where you are, because I don't think he's anti-immigration in the way you are, or she, whichever one you're talking about.
Well, I think he's ambiguous. If you read, for example, Robert Reich's book, it's pretty clear that he would be sympathetic for restricting immigration to boost wages at the bottom. She's kept the lines open to shift to the right on immigration.
I just think... I'm
not so sure that's right.
I think a lot of these issues split actually both parties, but the Republican Party more profoundly. And so I just think some sort of reshuffling makes sense. These are the big salient issues, globalization, immigration. I don't know.
What if you want to be liberal on trade and illiberal on immigration?
You could be. I just don't think that that's a very big constituency. But maybe I haven't done a lot of actual empirical.
Well, you wouldn't think that it would be a small constituency. Everybody likes cheap goods, but having people live next door to you is something different, right? So
well, that's cheap labor. It's not all that different from cheap goods, but it makes domestically produced goods cheaper. But
yeah, no, I understand, but it's not crazy that even though intellectually that position might have appeal, they might also have some concrete flesh and blood appeal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just seems a lot of weird stuff is happening. Like Huckabee, I'm wondering, I gather part of the book, What's the Matter with Kansas was saying to Republicans in the lower income category, hey, we know these social issues are important to you, but don't you realize your party is not serving you on the economic front, so why don't you come back over to the Democratic Party?
Right.
And maybe with Huckabee they're saying, no, wait a second, let's just bring the economic policies over to the Republican Party, And if that happens, then they could draw some Democrats with them. I don't know.
I think that's right. But you're saying that the Republican populists go over to the Democrats to hate corporate interests, but when they get to the Democrats, the corporate interests are there too, because they've all migrated from the Republican policy on foreign policy. I'm saying the Republican
Party could be where you wind up having the populism, the economic nationalism. And there would be a drift of low-income people from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. And the Democratic Party, it's always been stereotyped as having the cultural elites, but I'm saying it might increasingly have the business elites as well. So it could become kind of a socio-economic divide where you have cosmopolitan internationalist elites dominating the Democratic Party and nativist nationalists in the Republican Party. I don't know. Something weird is happening.
I wouldn't bet on the party of cosmopolitan internationalist elites in that fight.
Well, there's fewer of them, but then they have to bring clearly some non-affluent people along. But on the other hand, they're disproportionately influential. They've got a lot of money.
See, I think the question isn't who actually is an elite, but who is committed to social equality. The key point of Frank's book is that the Republican gold was convincing voters that Democrats were snobs. And you can get rid of the snob issue while at the same time pursuing free trade, I think. So at least that's the hope.
Well, I give you I think this is the culmination, the long-awaited climax of this episode is where you unveil your big unfolding trend or development.
Well, you had some big idea. That was your big idea?
That was my big coming unfolding trend in 2008, yes.
So
development, yes.
You shot your wad.
I've shot my, so to speak, yes.
Well, mine is that's not a sexual term, by the way. You know that.
It's not?
No, it's.
Oh, well, then in that case, I haven't. No, I haven't.
It has to do with loading a wad of shot into a gun.
Okay.
And you shoot the gun, and then you're defenseless because you shot your wad.
That I didn't do during this dialogue. Okay.
Bob,
go ahead.
Do you realize what the left-wing pundits would make if I said that? I would be in such trouble. My trend is pathetic compared with yours, Bob. I just predict that this next year will be the year where solar energy takes off. I'm told that there are huge advances in terms of making solar panels cheaper and the generation of energy cheaper, and that it'll change the entire landscape of residential construction.
Hey, that was really interesting. I got to run with you.
Okay, well, I told you it was pathetic.
No, hey, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Because, too much oil. Too much oil dependency.
Anyway, do you want to predict who's going to be president?
I predict Hillary Clinton will win the Democratic nomination. Who do you predict?
I think Obama will win.
And here we should stress that this is actually December 22nd we're saying this.
Yes. I think Obama will win the nomination, and I actually think he would be my plurality probability choice to win the election.
The Republicans, I'm completely flummoxed by. I can't make heads or tails of that thing.
Unfortunately, the McCain comeback scenario is becoming much more plausible.
I was thinking if I had to make a prediction, I might go with him, because if you eliminate all the ones that just in some sense don't make any sense at all, he's the one that's left, right?
No, I've resisted it because it's pushed by, various people who are pro-McCain, like Mike Murphy and the people at the Weekly Standard, and some people at the National Review. But it is becoming much more and more plausible as Romney is weakened that McCain becomes the consensus anti-Huckabee candidate.
No, I mean, all the other leading people, their true historical ideology is radically at odds with Republican tradition, or at least with what the base wants.
Well, Thompson is in harmony, but he's such a weak candidate.
Right. I mean, if he revives, that's conceivable. But I'd almost forgotten he was around.
No, and then I want McCain brutally punished for his stand on immigration. Not just for taking the stand, but for being narcissistically self-righteous about it. And I want him to his loss to stand as an object lesson. But, if he wins, that will not achieve that effect. And you don't like him because you think he's too hawkish on foreign policy.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, well...
I think he's a little wacky, too. But aren't they all on the Republican side?
I assume this lobbyist story that he's resisting involves sex somehow?
You always assume that. I don't know the story you're referring to, but...
Well, the New York Times is supposedly threatening to publish a piece about how he did favors for a lobbyist. Why is that a story if it doesn't involve sex or money? Seems like everybody does.
Well, if it's a lobbyist, it probably involves money.
I guess it's possible after the Keating 5, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway, they haven't published it.
Okay, well, I'm in a doghouse because we were supposed to go to this party that's almost over. My family goes to a party about once a year, and so I'm in a lot of trouble for making us extremely late to this one. But this has been great. We should do this every year as long as Blogging Head survives.
I
agree. So mark that on your calendar, will you?
I will.
Okay, and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Okay, see ya.